Hey, I'm Zedd Pratt. Welcome to the commentary for Vespertine. I am the writer, director, editor, producer. I did a ton of the animation work that you see on screen. We call it body acting in the Machinima world. Machinima is the process of taking a video game, and it's basically like sampling music and taking from original elements from other musicians and reincorporating it into your own art. In this case, I used the video game Halo for this movie, and I just used the video game to create my story. Originally, this intro was just going to be Vespertine with the black background, and the text fades in with the planet. But in the editing process, a little bit later on, I decided that it needed a more dramatic intro, and hence the blue and pink intro lighting, along with the score by Owen, producer name Rendition. So thank you, Owen Donnelly. Really appreciate it. This was the first project in which I was able to pay actors. Originally, with my other work, I was younger and I didn't really, it was just a different time, and you work with people that are within the community space. And with this project, it was just really exciting to work with new actors, along with, bringing in a lot of people I knew for many, many years to come in and play these characters. Opening here are two actors that had not been paid before working with me. First paid role. Here we have Paxton Butler playing Keith, and Maya, I'm going to fuck this up, Maya Fethina, I know I fucked that up, but playing Jessica. One of the things that I was really excited about with this project was that 343 Industries, the people that make this game, created new armor sets for characters, and I was able to make them look a little bit more civilian-like instead of super soldiers, and with that armor kind of created a like everyone in this world looks the same, but not quite. Everyone has their own individual armor pieces, but there's like a general ecosystem to the way everyone looks. I guess that's how I could put it. I wish I could come up with a better way of saying that. The armor allows like a cohesive world building element, but everyone is still individualized by color and specific little armor qualities.
Same old, interesting.
This is the map in the game Avalanche. Avalanche is hard to film in because with Halo 3, its theater mode has this element where it has an automatic exposure compensation. So even if you have your character in the middle of the frame, even if you're slightly left or to the right, or if your character moves, the exposure compensation will, auto happen. And it's just hard to film in the snow. And I knew that was like one of the difficulties I knew I was going to have in the project. One of the reasons I wanted to do this project was it was definitely inspired by the work of Bjork's Vespertine. There was something about the atmosphere of that album that I really wanted to capture. But this was written during the time of COVID. And actually the last scene of this entire movie was the first scene I wrote. So from there, I then, figured out like, there's something here, just kind of getting my feelings onto the page. I was feeling some stuff again with my mother at the time. And from there, I kind of backtracked and just kind of decided that this might be something special here. And I'm writing this while I'm at work at my freight job and forklifts are coming in. And it's just it's just kind of a funny atmosphere to imagine when I'm like writing like this, like, a somber ice movie. I want to say thank you to James Klim for giving me his username and password for all the like snow effects that you see on screen with a bunch of other particle effects. Thank you, James. It really added a lot of.
Let's get back.
It just added more to everything, and there's that weird thing where in Halo there's no depth of field. It's pretty much the same,
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
like f-stop of like 32, like throughout the entire thing. So sometimes like particle effects will have like depth of field, and sometimes, they'll be out far enough where they're in focus on camera. That's just kind of a limitation of Halo in itself. But I think it's that thing where it's, I think it works just fine. I think it's good enough for what it is I'm trying to do. This is another element of working in the game and trying to take it and utilize it in a way that, maybe other creators of this art form haven't really, quite done it like that before. It's like you have like a very simple problem of, hey, I want this character to take something out of the backpack of this other character. How do I do that? And in this case, it was walking up to the character, pressing Y for the gun animation, basically just swapping weapon and taking, stuff from that. So a lot of how you make this stuff feel real is from sound design, good composition, and within that composition, being able to edit in such a way where things flow smoothly. And, another thing with Halo 3 is I can't show turning animations, really, because there's no animation for their feet shifting. They just kind of, I imagine it like a clock. They just go from like 9 o'clock to 12 to 3 to 6. It's kind of hard to explain, but like sometimes you'll see it in wide shots, and it's just that thing of, I try to hide it as best I can, but sometimes it's necessary.
Sometimes.
Let's slow down a bit here. I've been talking about a lot of technical stuff.
I know this is an important token. We can.
I think one of the things that
I'm tired and I need a shower.
was really important to me to capture was
Okay.
intimacy.
Good night.
And, I was going through a breakup with an ex at the time, and there was some aspects of that got into the screenplay. As much as there's there's a plot, there's a plot that happens, but as much as that is a pivotal thing for this movie, it's kind of not. Like when people ask me what it's about, I tend to say like the plot synopsis, but really it's about grief, it's about love, it's about relationships, and it's about choices. One of the fundamental elements of writing the script is having these emotional conversations between these characters, and still throwing in, or not throwing in, but something I did very intentionally was that these are scientists, and that their philosophy of being, their view of the world is heavily towards the scientific method. And so combining that with just kind of classic things like a relationship story, putting those things together to just try to make these people's work and their lives feel really real. We passed by a bunch of stuff here. I'm going to just quickly go off some of the visual elements that we saw. So this isn't just Halo 3. There's Halo 3 ODST. There's Halo Reach. Just really maximizing Halo as a game, and just knowing that though it's primarily done in Halo 3, there's just a bunch of like additional elements that I took from other games that I felt was just, I didn't think I was going to show like Keith, and I didn't think I was going to show Jessica, but once I got that idea to like use those elements, it felt right. And it's something I use heavily within a HUD sequence later on. I just want to say I really love this shot of him walking up and with all the turrets, and I'm really proud of the cinematography in Vespertine. I think it's definitely some of my best work, and it definitely has a character to it. Vespertine was inspired by a previous project I did called Scorched, where the I don't know. The main thing I wanted with that project was I wanted to make it look visually just really stunning. And it took place in a desert, and then I guess kind of the opposite effect was like, ooh, now I want to do something in the snow, and I want to do something visually as good looking, but even better.
You're here to
Um,
fix our stuff, yeah?
Here, entering is Tori Kamal's character of Vincent.
What happened to your transport?
Tori Kamal and I had worked for many years together on several different projects. I remember recording lines with Tori consisted of me like hiding behind a bed at a wedding I was at. People were like playing pool outside the door, and I had to
You can use the spare sleeping
pile up pillows for like sound absorption and just like try to get away from everyone so we could get these lines done. I do all of my lines with my actors. It's just how I don't know. It's just how you cultivate good performances, in my view. You could send lines to an actor and be like, "Hey, here are the lines. Can you have them done by next month or whatever?" But it's impersonal, and I don't think it's very rewarding.
chamber.
Something I'm really proud of is how I work with actors,
Know where to look, you'd miss it.
um,
Wouldn't want you to be
and yeah, you get wonderful performances, and um, you know, for me, it gives me more control as well, and um,
Thanks.
yeah, it's just really rewarding.
He's quiet.
Apparently.
This is the map Blackout. Blackout is hard to film in. The lighting is very harsh, and I had a hard
Something's
time color grading it. But I ended up kind of going for a
What is there?
look like LED lighting, like fluorescent, actually, like kind of like fluorescent office kind of light bulbs, kind of a look, which is already the aesthetic of Blackout, but within terms of color, um, it's just what I had to go with. Unfortunately, YouTube really killed the film grain on this project, but I'll tell you, like the original version looks really good. You can still see it. It's just, yeah, YouTube kind of killed it. It doesn't look as good, and I think it kind of deteriorated a bit of the quality. But it's kind of the thing of, what can you do?
Okay. Keith, I'm gonna need as many tools as you have. I can do It might
Trying to think of my next thing to talk about. The scenes have been going by really fast.
to bring the right tools.
Originally, this project, I think it was 73 pages. If I had any criticisms for Vespertine, I think I should have written more. But I did cut out a bunch of dialogue, and I cut out some scenes as well. So I was actually surprised how long it ended up being. Or do I feel that way, or is that a lie? I don't know. Like, I was thinking it was going to be an hour-ish, but I wasn't expecting an hour 8. I was thinking more like hour 15 or hour 20. But with how much I kind of cut, it makes sense. And we'll get to that. I'll talk about that stuff once we get there.
Hey, Jessica, do you know
I love this exchange. He's just being kind of crass with her, and she's like, "I'm not having it." And that's something I really love about these characters is, Keith, I think, is like this kind of like farm boy, kind of like Luke Skywalker kind of archetype, and then, Jessica is really tough. And my only hope is that you feel that they have a dynamic and that they have a relationship, but it's complicated on the rocks and professionally.
I don't want any trouble.
It's troublesome as well based off of the scene 2 conversation, and especially coming up on this scene right now with the
Focus on your
with what's going to happen between them.
hurt you or the girl. I'll answer any questions you have because it's in our best interest we all get along.
Dutch angles was new for me. I just hadn't done that before. It was just one of the things that I tried, and I thought, hey, this is an easy way to create some anxiety and some tension.
Planning and pretending to be someone else. It just worked out that way.
I'm not sure when I had the idea to kill Keith off in the middle of the story. I think it was one of those ideas that I had early on that
Trying real hard to murder.
impacted the rest of the writing process. I know movies like Place Beyond the Pines play with generational perspective, but I think it was just the idea of taking a main character and, I've seen movies, I know how this goes, ooh, hey, here's our main character. We're going to follow him for the rest of the story. He's going to get in tough situations, but he's going to come out on top. Just all that kind of bullshit. I just love the idea of turning that upside down and to have a character that you think you're going to follow for the rest of the story and you don't. And then the rest of the story is played off through the perspective of a character that maybe you got, a bad impression from early on, so yeah, it's just one of those things I thought was interesting.
Evidence, logic, reason, all that. You don't think I've tried that? Do you know how many people have pushed me away? I won't push
It was really hard with the lighting, with the backdrop behind Vincent, with that snow. It was really hard to. I didn't mask it or anything. I could have, but just keeping that exposure was difficult. For people that are aware of the game, they might, be maybe annoyed that like Covenant architecture is on the outside and then the inside is like blackout, which kind of looks like beat up and run down. It's just like one of the things of the game in which I can't really control. But my kind of head canon that I came up with was something about the planet, like that the outside was originally silver, and then something about the planet, whether it be the snow or the atmosphere, just turned it purple over time. Does that make sense? I don't know, but it's just something I always kind of thought of.
I need your help with something.
Give me a minute. I'll be right back.
I did a lot of footsteps. The last stages of editing Vespertine was just editing of footsteps. I did it for like 2 weeks. It was exhausting, along with mastering every single line of dialogue, because I didn't know a whole lot about audio mastering when I started Vespertine, and then in like the year, in the year of editing it and just making the damn thing, I learned a whole lot more, and so I had to go back in and remaster every single line of dialogue, and it kind of fucked up the helmet effect a little bit because I wasn't able to edit the raws. But it's just one of those things where you just got to try your best and move on. I think this might be my favorite scene in the entire movie. I don't think it's particularly. There's nothing like amazing about it, I think like the Carlisle interrogation scene is obviously a bigger feat in terms of cinematic quality, but I remember when I got this scene right, feeling really good about it. I remember just being really happy that I got it to where it needed to be, and that was just made me happy. Something I just thought of was Jessica's breastplate. That was another thing. It was like, nowhere in Halo is that a thing. And so, like, just having a breastplate was like, it's just one of those things where it's like, in this game, it's like, even just something like that is a huge deal.
Everything on the word of this guy. I don't know what to say to you.
Every time I watch this scene, I really feel it. Like the way that she talks to him here, and you just feel that pen drop. You just feel like that heartbeat skip. It's harsh. This interior of this ice cave area was a lot more green, so I kind of had to make it more blue. But it's just like ways of adding. I mean, I kept some green in it, and I like how this scene is red, because we see so much blue throughout the entire piece that when we see some different color palettes, it's exciting. So like the greenish ice cave and this red area, yeah. Something I don't really discuss in here in Vespertine was like that only Jessica and Keith are at this facility, and like when there'd be like cameras watching them or stuff like that. And I don't know, I just always figured that this is far enough in the future where there's a ton of shit that's automated, and something to do with, and this is kind of also relevant with the plot, there's something about the atmosphere of this planet that maybe having kind of long distance like security camera like linkage through, I don't know, through internet connection would be something that would be difficult. This planet's mysterious, and that's kind of the point. And there's just some elements to the plot that, you know, they don't really matter in terms of the story, and me introducing some like AI character would just muddy things up. It wouldn't be important.
Thanks so much.
Keith, on my data drive, I
Um,
the PCR repairs
the last scene, just continuing their separation, just their kind of moral dilemma along with their relationship.
on purpose.
I just hope that I just hope that it comes across. Like I hope that you feel the layers
Look. Come on.
of the writing, when you watch it. I don't think my audience is dumb. I assume they're smart, like when it comes to like relationship kind of stuff like that, but plot stuff, I just assume I have to, make the dumbest person in the room understand what's going on. But that kind of stuff, I don't really think about that. I look for subtlety, and sometimes I mean, Wes Anderson is my favorite filmmaker, and I love the way that he writes people because they say what they feel a lot of times, and it could be like four things of dialogue, and you know where people are at, and I like that.
That's not true.
But I don't know. There's just like,
You feel about your
I try to cultivate subtlety
Work all the time.
through,
Whenever I'm getting to them,
um,
something.
it's not a request.
like I was talking about before, with like the scientific method being a pivotal part of like the way people talk in this world, and
rules. You don't have a
yeah, it was just a hard balance of everything. I'm kind of getting lost in my thoughts here, but
is it though?
yeah.
I love my work. It's what I always wanted to do.
That's good. But how do you feel about them?
I think one thing that maybe Vespertine needed was a little bit more time between these two characters. Maybe Keith kind of seeing something that
What if they've got
would persuade him a little bit more. Yeah, I think Vespertine is like
someone say to me, there is
one of the movie inspirations is like a movie like Gattaca, where it's very like each scene is like very important, and it's like Gattaca, like when it starts it just goes, and it's like it's very lean on its meat. It's like very lean on its bones, and that's just something I like about a movie like that.
You better get out of here.
Keith,
And the oh shit moment. I've been really trying to, make things have a lot of tension, but I hope that like once this comes in, it's like, oh, I love this shot. The soldiers on the hill, so fucking cool.
Holy shit.
Keith Lennox.
Yeah.
Jessica.
As I sneak in a Gatorade drink.
For somebody.
Excuse me, sorry.
You a false name.
Calling Dominic.
Yeah.
No word from the
And that's me.
You two stay.
I didn't think I was gonna play this character, but it was just one of those things. Like when I was editing, I was just like, I'll play him. Fuck it.
You get to cover.
Hey.
Let's go.
This shot right here, where Keith. So I actually, playing as Keith, I actually bumped Jessica a little bit, but I really loved the pacing of the shot, and I really liked it. So I just added a sound effect of him kind of hitting her shoulder. It's one of those things where,
killed that guy.
like, that's something I would definitely like redo. But I just put the effect in, and I liked it. I thought it's cute. He's kind of like running past her,
Back to command.
and I think it works.
Facility.
It's not going anywhere.
This stare, man. Just this stare. I hope that you feel everything in this shot. Like, just the disdain. Yeah. This Pelican shot was done by this ship is on the map, on like one of the new maps for the game, and it's stationary, like it's not moving or anything, but I positioned the camera just right, and then all I did was I fast forwarded in theater mode because the clouds behind it moved, and so it made it look like it was flying, and then I did handheld camera and with the snow effect to make it look like it was flying.
I want nothing.
This is like the only scene where it has like a handheld camera effect, and it was just try to really sell the fact that they are indeed in a flying ship. This shot coming up of inside the
196 for calling.
cockpit was to replace a shot I had of one of the soldiers walking in front of camera, and everyone would comment on his butt. But the whole point of it was to show like the gun on his hip and to just create tension and anxiety. Getting inside that cockpit was actually an accident. I didn't mean to get in there, but the Pelican that's flying in right now, it flies in on this platform, and my camera was there, and I just like got into it accidentally, and so I got that shot. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is perfect. That shot of the Pelican flying towards the tower, that's on a map that's not available to Xbox currently. I got my buddy Lawson to get that shot, and I knew this Pelican like landing on this landing pad was something I was definitely going to use. Originally, my intention for the scene was to have them all pile out, but because of my resources and not being able to get a ton of body actors for this sequence, I ended up just doing something different, and it's not my original vision for the scene, but it's just one of those things where it's like you gotta, filmmaking's just solving problems, and I had to just figure something out. The beginning of this sequence where the Pelican is flying in, that stuff was body acted like really early in production, and then the scene that's happening right now was like one of the last things I did.
We went to that lecture together, then got wasted afterwards, remember?
Yeah, it's coming back to me a little.
You two are gonna have to do this another time.
Sorry, colleague.
And here we have our villain. I remember somebody that was watching this said, oh, this is the bad guy. I was like, God damn it.
Please escort Jessica Croft to Building C. And please make sure she is comfortable.
I love this shot. And this is the last shot we see them together. Just huddled up together with anxiety, hearing these people yell at them. And yeah. I didn't think I was going to do a HUD shot for this sequence, but it was just a way of literally putting you in their perspectives. Because throughout this entire piece, all the cinematography is through Keith's perspective and a little bit of Jessica's at the beginning, but it's mostly just Keith's. And when Keith dies, then basically his soul, I guess, kind of like stays in the room, hence why we stay on Carlisle. Carlisle then transitions to Jessica, and then Jessica's perspective is constant throughout the rest of the story. Fun thing I figured out while doing the HUD for Jessica is that the Dare player model for Halo 3 ODST, she does not blink. There's something in her code that got fucked up, and she doesn't blink, but everyone else does. Romeo, Dutch, all of them. They all blink, besides her. That's very strange.
Dating glacial sediments and general data collection. At some point, the second generator stopped.
I edited a lot of Vespertine out of order. The first 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes were I had. From there, I just body acted stuff that I could get with my, myself or a couple buddies, like this scene. But yeah, shooting and just editing Vespertine, a lot of the scenes were done, individually, and then I had to stitch them later. It's not how I prefer working. I prefer working left to right, but that's just not, feasible.
What about the supercomputer?
His doing.
Did he discuss who he was? What he was doing? Did you two talk at all?
I hope that people feel that Carlisle is menacing and that they're scared. Something that I have throughout this scene is I was inspired by Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, where especially the first scene, just the way that he builds tension. I knew that that's something I wanted throughout the entirety of Vespertine, and I guess Vespertine is my attempt at trying to, I would say emulate, and I guess that's the proper word, but it's just I just really admire the editing of the scenes and like the way they build tension, and it was just something I kept in mind when I was editing these sequences. It was just an inspiration for me, and it's just something that I wanted to try my best to accomplish.
I don't feel is accurate.
Because you know who is who.
I hope you don't mind I pick your brain.
I hope that I gotten a couple different responses to the scene. I've heard that Keith's a bad liar. I've heard that Keith has balls. I've heard why is Keith doing this? He's a fucking scientist. He wants answers to questions. Closure brings him clarity. He has anxiety here, and I feel like people don't give the character of Keith, credit. I mean, he's in a tough situation here, and he's going toe to toe, because he thinks this guy's a colleague.
You think you can say that?
And then here comes the Dutch angles coming in.
Excuse me?
Let me make myself
Something in this scene that's throughout it isn't music, but it's a shepherd tone, and it's basically like opposite. It's hard to explain. I don't even quite understand it, but it's like opposite harmonies going like away from each other, and it creates anxiety. I love these shots. I love every shot in the sequence. The LED lighting, him walking up with the red light. Coming up, this slow motion stuff, it's just using the game. It's just like holding down slightly on the trigger. The shepherd tone going out here was not, I didn't have it like that intentionally, but I was editing and it got shifted and it was like that. I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. So I had to fix it up a little bit, but it was a happy accident. But yeah, just on the controller, just pulling down the trigger just a little bit, just trying to get the right pacing for that gunshot. The blood isn't the best texture, but it's an old game. You do your best. Oh, something I love about this shot is that this helmet to me looks like a praying mantis. And I don't know, it's just very, it's just, I don't know, just something I think about every time I see that shot.
Work is remarkable, but what's done is done.
What would you like me to do?
She's a female.
He, Carlisle is, because like I said before, I wrote the last scene first, and so when I was writing that scene and he's dying and he's like, talking about like missing his mother and stuff like that, then when he became the villain in the script, I had to make him, I had to kind of backtrack a little bit. And what does he look like, in his prime? And what he looks like in his prime is, he's ruthless. He's ruthless against, women. Not gonna lie, it was definitely a bit of inspiration from just like during the time of COVID, the Harvey Weinstein stuff was happening, and I just like the idea of, just like the Me Too movement. I don't know, it was just something about, because Keith dies, I needed a way to because Jessica is so confident and she really admires this guy. I needed a way to like knock her off her pedestal and bring her down. So not just hearing the information of Keith, but someone that she like really admires clearly, from this scene, when he's treating her like this, she doesn't know how to react and she's shocked. And I'm sure, I'm a guy, I haven't experienced it, but I'm sure as like, a woman in the workforce, especially if you're, working in a kind of thing, I don't know, like a night job or something, or like something like very male heavy, I'm sure, you deal with little, comments or situations or whatever. And, it's a movie. I'm ramping it up, to its, to a harsh level, but that's kind of the point. Carlisle, we don't see him very often, and so he has to be extremely brutal, and he needs to be really threatening because we're not with him all that much, and he needs to have a huge impact on the audience, and that's why he is the way he is. And I always envisioned the Carlisle character as like just a man of power. I thought like, I don't know, like an Elon Musk, like Bill Gates kind of type or whatever. Just like a smart guy, smart CEO type. And he can get away with what he really thinks. I love this, when he's like, it's coming up here. It's not yet, but he's like, oh, you're amazing. You're so important to us. You're a very important cog in this machine. He's like, he manipulates her. And I don't know if like Jessica is, I think she's so flabbergasted by the news of Keith that she's not really processing the conversation. But I think if she hadn't heard that news, if she was processing the conversation the way that it's presented, she'd be like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Like I think Jessica's, the most ruthless character in this entire thing besides Carlisle anyway. But she's in a vulnerable position, and that's exactly what Carlisle needs, and that's how he manipulates the situation.
And Jessica, female hysteria was discredited long ago. In order for this to work, I can't have you becoming a new day.
That line is so fucked up. Love it. It's so ruthless. I love the crying and I love the fade out. I'm really happy how this turned out. Just something funny, I think, is the text here for 1 month later. My buddy Camden hates this text. He said it took him out of the film. It's the same font as Vespertine. The aesthetic of Vespertine is like Y2K kind of font. And that's why we have, I think like early 2000s film, like that's like the film grain I went for, and just kind of the overall like color palette, along with, even when she gets on the ATV and it's a race against time, it's drum and bass music, all that stuff was, the aesthetic of that time period was a huge inspiration for the look and just the feeling of things in Vespertine. This scene, a psychiatrist is played by my Nana. We did the lines in her bedroom, and I came over with my microphone, and I knew she'd be great for it. We did the lines, and it was a great time. I had a lot of fun working with her. It was just really wonderful.
The way they were. I know they're not. I'm a different person now.
This is one of those things like in the game where I imagine this like while I was writing it, like in a like a psychiatrist's office, like some sort of like therapy room, But you do what you can. I like it. I think it's visually interesting to look at. It's obviously like a private space, like maybe I don't know. I don't think about it too much, but maybe her office is being renovated or something, and they're talking out in a private hallway, because it says like personalized personnel only, like in some shots above her head, which I showed on purpose just to kind of give it a subliminal reason. Funny thing here on this walking shot is that cigarette. If I were to go one more frame more, that cigarette would have been lit up, and it just looks really weird. And so like I had to make sure I cut on that frame of it still in shadow. I don't know who's smoking on the station when everyone has to be in their armor. I know it doesn't make sense because they're like inside, and so like why would they have to like wear armor? Like aren't things like ventilated and all that? But it's just one of those things where it's a game. There's only so much I can do. Maybe you know, through the plot anyway, it seems like whatever atmospheric conditions are on this world, it just like cuts through walls, it cuts through everything. And the only time people like probably take off their armor is like when they're in their own private quarters. So, you know, again, it's just one of those like headcanon things, but you know, if you understand Halo Machinima, you know, you kind of forget those things, but like when you're watching it, I hope it's so good and like what's happening on screen is so you know, captivating that, you know, that stuff kind of goes away. My intention with making Vespertine was to approach it like an animated film. I wanted to create something that anyone could watch, that it would be good enough to stand on its own. This scene was originally longer, but my buddy Grady said it kind of went on a little long. It kind of broke up the pacing with the previous scene, and so I cut it down a little bit. And now when I watch it, I think it's the perfect pacing. So I'm happy I did that. Her doing this right here was inspired by my mother. When my father died, she would call his phone to hear his voicemail. And when it was disconnected, it was definitely heartbreaking for her. As I'm saying this, I'm now remembering that Jesse Pinkman did the same thing in Breaking Bad. So I think it's a common thing that people do. Here's Mike, played by Matt Gord. Mike's everyone's favorite character. You know, Mike represents the everyman. He's a very important character because he's a construction worker. He's supposed to show that there's not just like scientist people like on this planet. There's actually like there's workers here as well. And I have like soldiers as well, and the soldiers are supposed to be like you know, I can't really show anything, but like with the turrets that are on their station, I like to think that this planet is actually inhabited by some like pretty I don't know, scary creatures. I don't know, like something like the game like Lost Planet or something, or like Starship Troopers, you know, just something like that. And they gotta protect themselves. But yeah, a lot of people like Mike, and I've been asked about Mike and Jessica and like what's their relationship, and everyone's got a different answer. And that's the point. I made their relationship, you know, kind of neutral in the middle. It's clear that Jessica's going through a lot and that he's being, you know, close to her. And, you know, some people view Mike as a rebound. Some people view Mike as just a friend. And that's on purpose. That's by design. I wanted to create some, I'm going to butcher this word, ambiguity. Ambiguity. I think that's how I say it. I wanted to say that shot of the people looking at Jessica, that was a pickup. There's a bunch of pickups. Like this shot of her about walking away was a pickup. You know, those people looking at her. You know, I just wanted to continue that thing of like creating anxiety and that people were around and people were listening. And same thing with the psychiatrist. You know, I was, you know, I asked a buddy, John, I'm like, you know, what'd you think of the psychiatrist scene? And he said something like, you know, clearly a mismatch. You know, that maybe she's not a bad psychiatrist, but something about just them together, just they weren't a good match together. But I also did it neutral as well with the Mike relationship, where with the psychiatrist, I made it that way on purpose where, yeah, they could just be a bad match, but she could be also working with Carlisle or paid by him or something to keep tabs on her during that time period of her, you know, healing. So it's a little up in the air, and that's the point. Backing up a little, those shots of her driving to the station, the facility, was shot by Lawson, same as that Pelican shot flying to the tower a long time ago. Yeah, Luke here, played by Brendan Ray. Luke is great because Luke is supposed to be representative of Keith, but like an annoying Keith. And something I love about all this is that he's not like a bad guy, and he's not doing things that are like necessarily like annoying or like, yeah, he's annoying, but it's like Jessica's just like clearly hard to work with, and he's just like trying to deal with it, and that's something I really like. I've been told by people as well that they really love this sequence, this montage sequence, and it was really important. It was something I had imagined. The music as well is, a lot of stuff in the score is like all like original works, but this is the only song that's like clearly inspired by a song off of Bjork's Vespertine, and that's I really try to imagine it not like that, but like whatever we did, it just didn't work, and we just had to do it. I love that match cut I did of the ice and it going from night to day, and and I love this sequence because it slows things down and just it gives us a second just like being with her and existing with her, and she's suspicious and she's trying to figure things out, and maybe Keith and Vincent were right, and she's going through those feelings.
Is there something wrong, Jessica?
It's all wrong.
What do you mean?
All of it.
I just wanted to say I love how blue this room is.
They calibrated it.
I really love the color on it, and I love like the reflective nature of it. It just like, yeah, it's just great. I really like this room.
Up to you.
We're supposed to be partners. Why the fuck are you treating me like this? I'm not wasting my energy on this.
Yeah, clearly like he's not, like she's just being hurtful.
Hello?
Transport 9.
This scene is supposed to emulate a similar scene to where, like, when Keith was on this computer. I try to do that throughout the movie, is just like this kind of like visual symmetry. I don't do it a whole lot, but I try to just do it as much as I can. Something I forgot to mention was Dominic is played by Joseph Diamond, and Carlisle is played by Patrick Winstone. I was just talking so much, I kind of skipped past them, and I just wanted to make sure to say something.
Yes, colleague.
Wonderful actors.
Mr. Croft, happy to see you've returned to work.
Just great, amazing. I'm so happy that they signed on, and they're like the two actors where it's like they do a take and it's like so good. And
How are you fitting back in, Miss Croft?
Carlisle was a recast. Patrick was replacing another original actor, and so a lot of the stuff, we had to kind of like the interrogation scene, we had to do like generally the same pacing of lines because I had edited the scenes already, and so we kind of, I definitely edited around him, but like a scene like that, we had to kind of get the timing right, and then other scenes he had a lot more freedom to be more expressive and to bring in like what he wanted to do with the character, and I love that. I wanted to say about that shot of them walking. There's something iffy about that shot of them walking, and if you can point out what it is, let me know. Yeah, just let me know. And my friends that are listening to this, don't write it. I want people that aren't my friends to see if they can spot something with that shot. I normally, under any circumstance, I would never do it, but the way that it's done, no one's ever going to tell unless I point it out, which I just did. So, fuck me.
Call me as soon as you hear this.
This is supposed to be her quarters. It doesn't look like Halo Reach. I don't know. I wanted a new environment, but I couldn't do the Reach environment, obviously, and it's just one of those things where you got to do what you got to do. Oh, this originally had sound effects of construction in the background of his audio, but it just took away from the scene, so I cut it out.
You were right about
there's a bunch of stuff I cut out. Like, for example, originally Carlisle and Dominic were supposed to have like a walk and talk, but I didn't like that it stayed on their perspective for too long, and I ended up just kind of combining it into the scene right after Keith's death, and then that's so hard to say, Keith's death, and then so I cut that, and yeah. Oh, dude, that edit! I'm so proud of that edit. It's so good. As you can tell, like throughout the story, the story continuing, he didn't hear anything, but if he did, she would have been in some huge shit. Thank God he didn't hear anything.
You are not his boss.
Something I wanted to point out is Carlisle's armor is white and everyone else's is silver. I just really wanted to push that, and he looks different than everybody else. Like, he's pristine. He's the man in charge. I hope people understand like what's happening, because this is like a huge plot thing. Like, this is like the pivotal thing in this entire movie, and it's a throwaway line that Keith says at the beginning, and I did that on purpose, and I just hope that people were smart enough to catch like what's going on. And I don't know, like maybe I could have done it better, but just like the way that I edited this scene, like I just don't know how I could have like done it any better. Maybe like watching this scene years from now, I'll look at it and be like, fuck, why didn't I do this? Watching it now, it's like, I think I did as best I could. And this I didn't plan at all. Like, this is an idea I had at like the end of editing Vespertine, like her getting on like the computer, like showing the HUD, saying 73 days. That's just my way of just like saying to the audience, like, fucking, hope you understand like what's happening. Because it says 1 month later. But it says last update is 73 days. So it means when they were working on this facility, fixing the supercomputer, that this is something that just went unchecked. And she had the idea, and she checked, and she's going for it. And it makes sense for her character because she's a civilian. Like, if anyone's like watching this and thinking like, why isn't she just shooting this guy? You try shooting someone. Here, I'll hand you a gun. Shoot your boss you don't like. Good luck. There was just no way. But poisoning him, she's a scientist. It's it raises the stakes. It's a movie, but it's not as brutal, and it just makes way more sense for her character. And I think it's cooler. I think it's much cooler. Oh, this thing. So there was supposed to be a scene where Luke talks to Carlisle outside, and the audio thing that we're going to see here in a bit, that was originally going to be in that scene, but I cut that scene because I didn't like the idea of leaving Jessica's perspective, and it felt a little better for the pacing, and I liked that like Jessica was hearing their conversation. That seemed a lot more powerful.
I'll be back before it gets dark.
That thing of her like breathing in and out, that wasn't in the script either, but I just knew, like, or at least I don't remember it being there, but I knew she needed a moment, like after she successfully did it, just be like, and it's kind of like an inverse of like the Keith thing, where Keith didn't succeed, but she has. But now she's hearing information that was accidentally said by Luke, and now we're in oh shit mode. I also love that they have a basketball hoop. It's just the two of them. It's like locker room thing with all their gear, and they have a basketball hoop. It's so funny. I love this shot. I think this was a great way of like giving this information. It didn't need to be them like standing and like looking at the computer and listening to it. I think just like his helmet, her gun, and like the audio wave file, I think it was a really good way of doing it. I'm really proud of doing it that way. I'll wait a second because I want to watch the part where the music comes in. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah, I love it. This sequence was so fun to do. I'm going to talk real quickly here. So this wheel shot, I got it by having her just like run up a hill in the mongoose and just, and then just zooming in as close as I can within reason. and because her ATV wouldn't move because she was stuck, and that's why that way I was able to get the shot of the tire spinning and all that. Her landing right there is like the only Halo sound design in this entire movie, besides the Pelican. The Pelican is actually sound design from like a long sword and some other elements. A lot of the sound design in this entire thing is done by me. Like, for example, Keith brushing his teeth. That was done by me. Keith getting in his bed was done by me. There's a bunch of sound design that's like done by me, and there's a bunch of sound design that because there's no like almost none of this is Halo sound design. Like 95% of this entire thing has nothing to do with Halo at all. This is the only sequence in the movie where I think I could have done a better job. I don't know. I was unhappy with the sound design. I think I could have built up the tension more or something. I don't know. Just my vision, I didn't get exactly what I wanted. I love all the shots. There's just something about just like the sounds. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying just a lot. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. This part coming up with the tunnel, that was not planned at all. I knew that I wanted her to go through the tube on high ground. I just thought that'd be so excellent to use that for something. But I was like, on this map with my buddy Grady, and we're kind of looking around, and I was like, yeah, I could do that. And I look, and I'm like, there's a fucking hole right there. It's like, you could not have planned this. That shot, actually, of the hole, I used a fisheye effect in, I guess it's reverse. And you can kind of see it on the edges a little bit, but it was just to make that hole look even smaller, because it's a lot bigger, actually. So I had to try to make it look smaller so it'd make more sense for her going down this tunnel.
Then I don't have to talk to you.
Using high ground, just trying to build some different visual stuff. And I just always wanted to use this tunnel for something. I just knew it would be really cool.
Where you found it and what you know.
That was nothing.
Deal with this. I'll be in my quarters.
What about your call to Jessica?
That call was before I found it.
Where did you find it?
I found it by some concrete. That's it.
More slow motion. You can kind of tell that the blood isn't like the greatest texture, but everyone that I showed this scene to loves it. Yeah, and she points the gun at him. She's not able to do it, but Mike is. She's in danger, and he kills him. And yeah, this whole scene is like him taking in like what just happened, and why wouldn't you? I love the smoke that I did coming off the barrel. I thought of that like way later than I should have. And it took a bit. It took a bit to make it look good. This is like my second favorite scene. I just before going down into the depths of hell for like the last scene, with the red lighting and all that.
Right.
Something about just taking a breather. It's like the montage sequence, just something about taking a breather.
Right.
I already had this thing where it's like a race against time.
Where?
And now we're slowing down and just taking in like what's about to happen.
You gotta leave.
And I just love that she's protecting him.
You gotta leave.
I bet you if she fired the trigger, she would be feeling what he feels, but she's just very determined in her goals. And it was like that kind of separation of what just happened is going to allow her to make those steps down that staircase. Getting that body there was so hard. Yeah, and I had to like try to match it with like the way that he fell, like in the shot. Yeah, I feel like that's really hard.
But I'm too scared to see the body.
I just want to say thank you to Matt Gord here, with just this lovely performance.
I can't.
Just lie to me.
I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just so thankful it's good. And I'm concerned that like when I watch Vespertine from now, I'm going to think like, this isn't as good or whatever. But I stopped working on it for some period of time, and then I went back to it, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh, hey, this is still good. It was like really surprising. Like normally when you go back to your work, you're like, oh, fuck, like this doesn't work. I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. It was like still good. And just watching it now and doing this commentary, I'm watching, I was just thinking like, this is really good. I'm like really proud of this. Another thing I cut down was this, her stepping in and looking down the staircase. The pacing of it is good now. I think it's still slow. Like it's still fine, but it was much longer before. I really just wanted to drag it. But my buddy Grady said, he got annoyed that he just wanted the last scene to happen. But I wanted to take a moment. I wanted her to look down the staircase. Like I wanted it to be impactful. And so a little thing, a little best of both worlds. Like the psychiatrist scene, I imagine it in like this office. I imagined a black room with a desk, and he like passes out onto the ground. But that just wasn't going to work. And I was looking around for stuff, and I saw this, and I just thought this would be great.
It's because of
This lighting is just like the opposite of the entire movie, and it really just creates a set piece. Originally, it was a lot more green, but I toned down the green.
It wouldn't be true.
Yeah.
I would just be saying, what do you want to hear?
Where is the data drive you stole?
That drive is mine.
When he throws the USB, that was sound design of me throwing my USB onto my desk, mixed with the sound of wheels hitting concrete with a skateboard. Skateboard was not mine; that was a sound effect. But it just combining those sound effects, and that was there's a bunch of sound design in this entire thing that's like that. It's like grabbing like real elements like that and adding in extra little textures to bring clarity, or not clarity, but just to make things work.
I'm dying of poison. How?
Originally, I was gonna have all the sound design of like their armors and leather and all that to shift and move and all, but it just would have really, it just would have took away from scenes, and it wouldn't have worked. So I just do it for like when they turn, basically. And here we go. Here's a revelation.
The suits barely even work.
I wrote this scene
Everyone
feeling,
die a lot sooner than they think.
like soldiers when they die, like a common thing is for them to like cry out to their mothers. And
I killed Keith.
for me, writing is always writing a scene between two people. And there was just something about a man facing death and calling out to his mother.
Because I was afraid.
And
And now I'm gonna
something I was feeling at the time of writing this was, family members or people, loved ones where we're like annoyed by or not getting along with, or just like frustrated, or like, whatever. Like once they leave, they're gone. And
I miss her so
I don't know. That was the inspiration for me writing this scene the way I am, and Jessica facing everything that she's faced.
I don't want to die alone.
She takes the high road of holding him into death. And, maybe some of you think that's ridiculous, they would just like walk away or whatever, but
Loving.
he knows he's about to die. She knows he's about to die, and
Smartest woman I've ever met.
and she just allows him,
She sounds nice.
and it's also this kind of motherly thing, right? It's like she holds him like a baby. It's like life is a circle
That's what I deserve.
in a way.
I'm afraid I won't come.
Real quick here, technically this was done by getting the player models as close to each other as possible, and then just being really specific with where I place the camera to make it really feel like they're right next to each other, and that she is indeed holding him. It just wouldn't have worked as him being a dead body. There was just no way. And just like with because he's holding like a depleted energy sword. Like just the way his hand is on his chest for me, just like completely saves it, makes it feel really real. This ending was not in the script. I knew originally it was going to end right there, cut to music, cut to black. But I knew that plot-wise, it needed a crescendo, it needed a hard hit. And, yeah. This was just done by just, like, getting as many people as I could to do some lines and just shifting them all around and just trying to build the flow. If there's anything I totally just kind of threw together, it was kind of that. It was just kind of like I was just kind of threw all the lines down and just kind of made everything just feel right. You know, as intentional as I am, that was probably the last thing that I did that wasn't really that intentional, but I worked really hard on it, obviously. But and I also wanted a credit sequence. You know, a lot of people like credits hit and it's like they stop watching. I knew I wanted to have like a credit sequence with people's names to make them feel like, and also just kind of this thing of like, where are they now? And I just love the idea of like, you know, that's where they dropped Keith off. That's where they threw down, you know, Vincent down that fucking tunnel of making it look like a suicide. Yeah, I like the idea of just keeping the audience in the credits and just doing like a where are they now kind of a thing. And yeah. Credits were a bitch. I don't know why. I was just, because I had never done a rolling credits before, actually, funny enough. So trying to figure that out was kind of funny. I just want to say thank you to everyone involved. I forgot to mention, like, my buddy Josiah, who played that, the guy yelling at him, you know, hey, aren't you my buddy? You know, John, he was the pilot, all the people that were throwing voices for the ending. All the body actors, thank you so much for helping with this production. I couldn't have done, you know, the big scenes without you. You know, and just all the little help from my friends and family, and I just really appreciate all of you. I'm so thankful to be able to make these, and obviously, you know, they're a labor of love. It's a little niche little art form that I do, but they're extremely important to me. I keep growing as an artist, and I'm excited for what the future has in store for me. I want to continue to make good work, and I can only do that without your support. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll end out together as we fade into the nothingness of Vespertine, which I forgot to mention. That's the name of the planet. I never really say that in the script, do I? Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it.